A massive thank you to Iceberg, Joe, Alex, Pack, Philip for subscribing to the channel. If you want to be featured in these clips, make sure you subscribe down below. Hello everyone and welcome back guys to a brand new video where today we're here back with round 13 of our F1 22 My Team Career Mode. Yes, we're back today, ready for the Hungarian Grand Prix. And of course, if you missed out on the podcast that went live before qualifying, You'll know, and you can probably already tell by my voice if you haven't. Yeah, I'm not feeling very well at the moment, but, you know, the show has to go on. So apologies if during this video I'm not quite as amped up as I'd normally be here. But yeah, we return though to the Hungarian Grand Prix this weekend. Of course, if you missed out on the video that went live yesterday from Le Castellet, I would highly recommend going back and checking out. Feel like we're starting to make decent progress here as we've actually crossed over the halfway stage of Season 1 in this career mode. But yeah, of course, if you're new around here as well, and you aren't already, please make sure you get yourself subscribed. At the time of recording, we've just ticked over 66,000 subscribers, so not far away from 70k, and of course, making further progress towards our big goal for 22 of 100,000 subscribers. So, if you're not already, please do get yourself subscribed as well for daily Formula 1 content. But having a look then at the Drivers' World Championship, Charles Leclerc still leads the way at the front there, 42 points clear of his teammate Carlos Sainz there. Hamilton still P3, ahead of Verstappen and Sergio Perez there, and 1 point separating Red Bull and Mercedes at the stage of the campaign there. Of course, after the Hungarian Grand Prix, you've got the summer break as well in Formula 1, so we're desperately trying to get more and more upgrades done, not only on the car, but also on the facilities. So we're going to try and do a resource point upgrade on the durability department there. We just need as many resource points as we possibly can at the moment there. You can see we've got a couple of big upgrades though in the works there. 2 majors and 1 minor, which should bring us, back in line with Williams and Aston Martin there. But really, Alpine down are all so close at the moment. It really is anybody's game. And it does depend far more on the track than anything else. Of course, this has also been recorded after the most recent patch, so durability and everything like that on the on the Renault E-Tech power unit has also been updated. But yeah, let's get into it then from the Hungaroring. Let's jump into our Pirelli Hotlap first of all. Right, so here we are then for our second drift event, I want to say, of this My Team Career Mode there, this time around at Hungaroring. 12,000 points, we've got 3 minutes to do it. Hopefully today we can try and get a gold score, but I have to wait and see as to how I fare. Let's just see what we can do, though, here at the Hungaroring. Like I've said before, I do quite enjoy, actually, sliding these cars around. It looks like the Hungaroring's seen some big updates there. I've not ever noticed that huge facility over the pit wall prior to now, as we try and kick the back end out as best as possible. I'm sure drifting is exactly the thing I should be doing when I've got a headache and feel incredibly dizzy. But, you know what? Like I said, the things I do for content for you guys, yeah, could have quite happily spent the rest of the day in bed, but, that's the way it goes sometimes. As that is quite a nice drift, actually, through turn 4. Perhaps being ill is the way to drift. We're certainly going to hit the silver medal here, but I don't think we're quite going to have enough for the gold unless I got some monumental drift back through turn 2. We're going to hit 10,000 points, though, at least, so I suppose that's not too bad. But yeah, there we go then. That's going to be another silver medal on the board. I'm intrigued, actually. Will it give you the points if you haven't banked them before the end? Will it add them on automatically here on F1 22? Let's just wait and see. Yes, it will. So that's reassuring to know down the line. But yeah, let's get into practice then here from the Hungaroring. Right, let's jump into practice then here from the Hungaroring. We need 415 points in our track acclimatization lap if we want to try and get the purple score. A little bit early on the brakes into turn 1. I know I mention it every time we come back here, but yeah, really not a big fan of the Hungaroring. Tends to also be a track where the AI are super strong as well. So, we have really good pace last weekend at Le Castellet. Not 100% convinced that's going to carry over to this weekend, but that being said, this track has often weirdly delivered quite good results, so we'll wait and see as to what happens here. It always used to be a track based on strategy, but of course now with the new tyre rules for 2022, being able to start on any tyre you like, that might make this race even less interesting than it often was in the past. round in the final corner then, trying to just make sure we keep it clean and tidy up towards the checkered flag. I think that is going to be 420 points, and that's going to be purple. Good way to start the weekend. Right, let's dive in then. Race simulation run next up. Got to try and just set some good consistent lap times here, but like I said, the Delta on the Hungarian can often be quite aggressive. You know, tends to be around the lower speed circuits, the Delta is much harder to achieve. So yeah, we've got to aim for some 19.8, so we'll wait and see what we can do. Well, first lap we were nowhere near the Delta, but second time round we found a bit more pace in the car. That's going to be our first lap under the time. Let's see what we can continue to do. Right, in the final couple of corners then, we've used a huge amount of battery here, but we are going to get the purple score still somehow. Despite the rough start to the session, I'm quite happy with that. Right, last but not least then, qualifying simulation run. Let's see what we can do when all the chips are down and we've just got to try and get one lap here as quickly as possible. The Delta is a 17.9, so this is going to be quite a difficult lap time to achieve. Especially when we're going to lock up nicely into turn 1, and then struggle to put the power down on the exit. Little kick of oversteer there, but we hang on to it. Come on, Albon, get out the way, man, otherwise this is going to really cost me here as we head through the S's. Intrigued, actually, to see how Formula 1 cars get on at the Hungaroring in just a couple of weeks' time, but Albon just really sat in the way now. Come on, man, you've got to be able to see us there. And I think this is pretty much going to ruin my qualifying simulation run there, as Alex Albon refuses to get out of the way. That's going to cost us loads of time there. We nick the wheel on the grass. Through the final corner we go. We're 6 cents down. Albon, you're a dick. Let's get into qualifying then here from the Hungaroring. Formula 1 is finally back in 2022, and now you can rep your favourite teams. Of course, using the F1 store, every team now has merch lineups available, whether you're an Aston Martin fan, a Williams fan, Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull, the choice is completely up to you. But yeah, check out the F1 merch store down below for all the official releases from all of the teams. And of course, as always, if you use our links as well, you massively help support the channel. So yeah, give it a look and see if there's anything you like. Well, jumping into qualifying then here for the Hungarian Grand Prix, it's always a difficult balance here because, you know, if you run more aero, you might be quicker through the twisty bits, but then you can't overtake anyone down the straights. So we're just trying to find that balance between running enough aero that you're fast in qualifying, but then not too much that you can't do anything if someone overtakes you. Let's get into our first qualifying lap then. I'll be honest, if we make it out of Q1, I'll be pretty happy because it doesn't often happen here around this circuit. But yeah, we'll wait and see there as we head through turn 1. A lot tidier than we did in our practice run. Just really want to try and get a lap hooked up. Like I said, if we make Q2, I'll be quite a happy man today. First laps felt pretty tidy, but I always just feel so slow around this circuit. It's Esteban Ocon. There's a 17.5 first lap. Let's see how close we're going to be to that. As at the final corner we go. 18.1. So a little way away from Esteban Ocon, but still quicker than another couple of cars doing their first runs. As Stroll goes faster, that really says it all. There we go then, halfway into Q1, and that really should paint a picture about just how slow we are this weekend. Drogovic has gone faster than me, albeit only by about 1/10 of a second, while our teammate's still currently faster. Let's try and get a second lap in, then see if we can dip under those 118s. But yeah, quite surprised actually to see Haas struggling as much as they are. Then again, yeah, this track really isn't one that should suit them on paper, because of course their car is all about power. As out down through the first turn, already finding another 10th there. That's what we need early on in qualifying. You know, this second lap I want to take some fairly big risks, just so we then can try and chase a quick time in our final run. So through turn 4, superstat time and you get it right, just like that. Right, getting ready then for my final lap here then in Q1. I'm expecting the Haas cars to improve, and also maybe even our teammate Felipe Drogovic, who currently is actually on the cutoff here. But we know there's a couple more tenths in the car. We've just got to actually try and get the lap hooked up. Try to give ourselves a bit of clear track behind Sir Lat. So again, just a bit of a lock up down at turn 1. And definitely not finding the same sort of time we did at the start of my second run there. A 1,000th of a second up as we head out of turn 1. And now the Delta just slowly shifting into the green there as well. That's a lot of curb. through turn 3, but we get it hooked up. Whoa, just starting maybe to overdrive the car a little bit as we have to second guess ourselves there through turn 4. Things are just starting to get a little bit sketchy on this final run. Attack the curbs through the chicane, but a horrible run on the exits. Lap is already unfolding from beneath me. Let's just try and keep our head down and really focus in the second half of the lap here, because I don't want to ruin this. We have a little bit more pace in the car this weekend. There's still only half tenth down as we head through sector 3. Use all the curb there nicely, but avoid the wheel spin. Dragovic and I now both into the drop zone. Are we going to be able to go quicker than our teammate? He's actually on a 17.9 now. As we head through the final corner, up towards the line. We are, I think, just going to improve, but it's not going to be by enough. That was an 18.0, and that's P20. A harsh reminder after the Q3 appearance last weekend. Well, there we go then, the end of Q1. George Russell there, clear by 0.4 of a second at the front of the field, ahead of Charles Leclerc and Lando Norris. Doing a magnificent job in his McLaren there, ahead of Verstappen, Sainz, and both Haas cars. Did improve right towards the end of the session there, but Daniel Ricciardo, 1.5 seconds away from his teammate there at the end of qualifying. We were still only a tenth behind Felipe there at the end of the session, and it's us, both Williams, the AlphaTauri, and the Australian. But yeah, feel like we've hopefully got a little bit of extra pace in the car during the Grand Prix. Like I said, Hungary, the AI could often be very, very OP around this circuit. Let's get into it then here. Round 13 of the year, even I should say, from the Hungaroring. This channel is proudly sponsored by Bybit, the official crypto partner of Red Bull's Formula 1 team. I've been using their platform for my personal crypto savings over the last few months, and when they got in touch to support the channel, I was super, super excited. Currently, they're offering you guys a special new promo for the first 100 of you to deposit $10 or more onto the platform. You'll get another $10 free. Also, 5 lucky winners will get their initial deposit doubled up to $1,000. That means if you deposited $1,000 onto the platform using my codes below, you could be within a chance to get another $1,000 completely free. We've seen the landscape around crypto drastically change over the last couple of years, and I genuinely believe it holds an important place in our future. However, please be careful as always when trading, as you are liable to lose money. But if you're interested and you're 18 or older, click the link down below to get started and see why Red Bull and myself, as well as thousands of others, trust Bybit as their crypto.
Welcome to Budapest once again for another round of Formula 1 action. Historically, a good race for first-time victories, with Button, Hill, Alonso and Heikki Kovalainen all reaching the top step of the podium for the very first time right here. The Hungaroring, it's like Monaco without the boats, although the boats today could come in very handy. 14 corners, 6 to the left and 8 to the right, and some very tricky corners to deal with. These rainy conditions out there aren't going to help either, so it's very likely we'll see a safety car or two during today's race. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position, and it's Lewis Hamilton alongside. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Russell, Sainz, Max Verstappen and Perez, Norris, Bottas, Mick Schumacher and Fernando Alonso, Ocon, Vettel, Yuki Tsunoda and Stroll, Joe, Gasly, Daniel Ricciardo and Felipe Drugovich, Magnussen, Mr. Monaco, Albon and Nicholas Latifi. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head down trackside for today's race. And with me today, of course, is Natalie Pinkham. Can we begin by having a chat about Charles Leclerc? That was a great win in the last race, but can they keep that momentum going into this weekend?
It's always nice to come into a Grand Prix weekend on a high, but your expectations are based much more on your practice and qualifying runs. So it's the momentum from those sessions that they'll be hoping to carry into the race today.
Right, well here we are then on the grid, ready for the Hungarian Grand Prix. Round 13 of the year, and safe to say we've got yet another race with changeable conditions here. I don't know how many we've had now on F1 22. I'd almost say it's getting a bit boring, but at least it adds a bit of extra spice early on in the races there. Meant to rain for about half the race today, so I think if we can try and get this one set of intermediate tyres to the dry period, I'd be quite happy with that. Of course, that's never always an accurate representation of what is going to happen here. But yeah, 35 laps around the Hungarian Grand Prix. Like Crofty said, a bit like Monaco without the boats. So yeah, certainly a race of endurance nonetheless. But let's get into it then here for round 13 of the year. Unlucky for some, hopefully not for us, as we need to try and get a lot of temperature into the tyres to get a good start on the run down towards turn 1, as Magnussen, after other heroics in qualifying, to get out Q1, is then right back at the rear of the field still. Trying to build up as much heat in the rears as we can then, as we head through the final couple of corners. Also just trying to see what the grip levels are like around the Hungaroring. So you can just see, oh, there we go, that's not quite what I had in mind, but try and get the car still straightened up. Oh no, we've jumped it.
Okay, not the best placement there, mate. Let's try and get a good launch as the race starts.
Not quite what we needed then. Here at the start of the Hungarian Grand Prix, waiting on those 5 red lights. And it is going to be 5 lights, and lights out, and away we go. And we are just not going to go anywhere off the start there. Alex Albon lighting up as we head down towards turn 1. Then Ricciardo and Magnussen trying to negotiate whatever position they are battling for as we head down in towards the first corner. I'm going to try and give my teammate Felipe Drugovich the apex, as he's had a decent little start up a couple of spots there, as we're going to go 3 wide on the exit of the corner there. Of course, we replaced K-Mag in the Haas Road to Glory. Are we going to try and replace him in P18 here as we head down the hill? Don't quite think so then. No, K-Mag, not quite the same antics he did on Hulkenberg a few years ago, but still hangs on to the position there. So both of us up 1 place then, myself and our teammate, as we head through the middle sector on lap 1 here. You can see it is still one of the Mercs leading the way there, so Ferrari not getting off to a particularly good start in this Grand Prix. Oh, there we go, Drugovich, a big brave move up the inside of Pierre Gasly through the chicane there. K-Mag's just going to get a little bit caught out watching this unfold there, so we're going to send it up the inside of the Haas car there and try and will our Brazilian teammate on us. Can he go around the outside there? No, Gasly. Oh, look at this, what's going on between these two as we head through the middle sector there, Oz? Is Drugovich now going to be under pressure from myself? Oh, that's not what we want to hear. ICE apparently under a fair amount of wear. Hadn't noticed that jumping into the weekend. Oh no, it is definitely getting there. So fingers crossed that survives this weekend. They're only up to 55%, so it should be alright. I'm amazed we haven't had any power unit failures so far this year. There is, despite quite a chaotic opening lap, we're up 3 places. There are no one into the pits with front wing damage. Unfortunately, yeah, didn't quite catch who was leading at the front, but the team reckon there's going to be about 20-25 minutes of this rain, so it pretty much will take us to about half distance then. I think what we've got to do early on is just settle into a rhythm, try to save as much battery as possible, as it's a weirdly easy track to burn through a lot of it, and see if we can apply pressure to Pierre. As Hamilton still leads the way then. When are we going to see George Russell get his first win in this series there as we head out onto the front straightaway once more? He's hanging up in P3 at the moment after all that good pace in Q1, but Gasly just trying to break away from myself a little bit, as we're also just doing the same to Drugovich, albeit slightly. So you can already see as we're about to start lap 5 of this Grand Prix. Oh, big snap there through the final corner. That's going to bring Drugovich just a little bit closer once more, but seems to be a bit of a pattern emerging in this Grand Prix. We're often a couple of tenths quicker than our teammate Felipe over the course of a lap, but then about 4 or 5 tenths slower than Pierre Gasly up the road there. So feel like we're just sort of racing into no man's land early on, but things could all change very rapidly when the dry period does arrive, as there's definitely a dry line forming through a lot of the lap. You can see through the likes of turn 3, it's definitely not there yet, but yeah, around a lot of the lap now. You just see tyre marks, everyone trying to take the same lines. I'm trying to keep the tyres cool though as well at the same time. Oh, but really struggling still to have the consistency we require. Just got to make sure we keep the tyres in good nick as well here early on, because you never know if the track isn't going to dry up very quickly or what's going to happen. So just trying to give yourself options longer and further into the race. There's we've got yellow flags out. I think that's Lando Norris. After a very strong qualifying there, Lando Norris pulling over to the wayside early on in this Grand Prix. And whether for better or for worse, we're not going to see a safety car because of it by the looks of things. But it is going to move us up into P16 then of the GP as well. We just get a little bit out of shape there. So easy to do around this track. It's so easy to lose the time and so difficult to gain it back on the AI in front. So that's just going to be another few tenths lost. It's all over the show at the moment there. Drugovic runs wide trying to capitalise there. Oh, I think Ricciardo and our teammate have come together as we're just throwing away time there. K-Mag now having a look up the inside, but we live to fight another day there. As up to P16 now, we have to wait and pray the AI have to box onto a fresh set of inters, so maybe we can bolster ourselves up the order there as Kevin Magnussen again tries to have a look up the inside out of the final corner. We have normally got pretty good top end speed there, as you can see now. Ricciardo going to try and have a look past the Haas car there as we head back down towards turn 1. Formula 1's most aggressive driver, or one of the most aggressive drivers, battling against one of the bravest on the brakes. And I think K-Mag has held on for now, as how did the AI get such good traction out of turn 1? Oh, Ricciardo now again trying to get a run on Kevin Magnussen as we head back down towards turn 1. No idea where the McLaren's got that sort of pace there. You know, if it was last year's Haas, I completely understand, but this year's Haas, what a strong little vehicle there, as they're still going to be side by side out of turn 1. So I just need to run like crazy there as we head down through turn 2. Really not gelling with this track today. I mean, it's often the case, to be honest, around the Hungaroring, but looks like Ricciardo's made the move stick now. As, yeah, we've just got to try and keep our head down, keep focused, but I wonder how much of the gap we've been able to pull over K-Mag and Danny Rick was just by virtue of Drugovic holding them up terribly. Oh, Ricciardo having a look up the inside down into Sector 3. I mean, we're not going to make it easy for the Australian, but yeah, can't help but feel like we are completely ruining his in K-Mag's afternoon here, just sat in the way. But yeah, we might see Ricciardo actually, steady on, yeah, get a good run out of this final corner. The McLaren really good on traction. No, that time around he trips up, and K-Mag says thank you very much there, straight back up into P17 for Kevin Magnussen. So yeah, the AI is still just tripping each other over, and it's allowing me to hang on to P16. It's probably not going to make a huge amount of difference in the grand scheme of things, but you know, every position helps and all. As this time around, Kevin Magnussen going to take inspiration from Daniel Ricciardo and try to make the move work into Sector 3. So we're pretty much at 1/3 race distance here. I think those Mercs and Ferraris have really got such a big gap already this early on into the afternoon. But out of the final corner, K-Mag just going to sit back for now. No, look at that, the Haas car does exactly what Daniel Ricciardo did. At 8 seconds now, the gap to Pierre Gasly up the road. Really not fun for us. But yeah, we just got to keep our head down and focus still. It is really, yeah, a battle, I think, between us and Williams this weekend for the wooden spoon. This team reckon the rain might start clearing up in about 5 minutes here as well. Just a little bit of a wobble through the final couple of turns. But yeah, interesting to see when we're going to see cars start to box in this Grand Prix. It looks like Daniel Ricciardo and he's going to be the first to blink here at the Hungaroring. Team saying back to dry shortly. Like I said, I'm just praying the AI have to box a lap or so before it gets dry onto a fresh set of the intermediate tyres here. But often now, you know, they can be a lot smarter than they used to be on the older F1 games. But still, you know, we've just got to try and hang on out here at the moment. As yeah, Gasly, the gap up to 11 seconds now. That's reassuring to hear from Mark. I think we're going to be a few laps away from dries still. But yeah, getting a little bit worried that it's not going to be far enough. I'm now starting to wonder, looking at it, whether Ricciardo actually had some front wing damage, because I know him and Magnussen have been battling it out quite hard. And speaking of Magnussen, oh, he almost gets the run on me out of the final corner. Team reckon it's 2 laps before we pit for inters, but yeah, we want to try and just stay out until the dry period. But it's definitely getting closer and closer there. The track, just see, you know, there's not much standing water left on the circuit. Like I said, I just want most of the AI to box before it gets dry, so maybe we can leapfrog our way. You know, I'm sort of looking at that gaggle of cars from Mick Schumacher backwards. Grip level's going to start falling away soon. I think we're okay at the moment, Mike. Mike? Mark. Okay, DRS enabled then. Is Kevin Magnussen going to have a look up the inside, back down at turn 1. We're going to try and squeeze the Haas car over the inside curbs, but let's just wait and see. That Haas OP traction off the exit of turn 1 there. And yeah, look at that. He has already using the DRS, but Kevin Magnussen runs horribly wide down at turn 2 there, and we're going to be able to do the old up and under on him. Yeah, we wanted to try and break around the outside there, but very quickly realised K-Mag had gone far too far down into the corner, but surely it's too wet still for dry compound tyres. We're not seeing the front AI box just yet, so perhaps the DRS has just been called a little bit early, but I haven't even sort of decided which dry tyres I'm going to go on to. Don't really want to use the hards, because of course they just don't work in dry conditions, but yeah, seeing no AI still into the box at the moment, so maybe things are about to get a bit weird here, and Strogovic now back ahead of K-Mag. That's what I like to see. Now we've got a bit of a gap, bit of breathing room. And fingers crossed, you know, that puts us under less pressure again. Yeah, really starting to look like now that perhaps the AI are smart enough to know that the track conditions are about to change in terms of what tyre is going to be good. Please don't say dries. And they reckon dries. Of course I couldn't box in time. We're going to have to come into the pits end at the end of this lap, as it looks like K-Mag might be the first one to make the switch, but not convinced. It's still dry conditions here. Still looking a little bit damp, but the rain has fully stopped. There's just a little bit of standing water, quite a few puddles now around the venue, but there's worth sort of hanging out to about that 20 or so before we make the call.
Looks like it's probably about time we change tyres. It's a bit of a crossover period for sure, but the longer we stay, the worse it's going to get.
Yep, so Mark just saying there, we definitely need to be boxing. Looks like everyone else pretty much is into the pit lane, so we are going to box now. I feel like Drugovic is probably going to do the same, but, you know, we need to claim track position here, because maybe we can undercut our way a bit closer to the cars in front. Always try and guess where to stop into the pit lane. Pits we go though, make sure we try and get the optimal, there we go. Can we get a nice clean tidy stop, make sure we don't hold up Drugovic? Yes we can, 2.3. There we go, so that was pretty good. And now we've got to try and remember about the cold rubber then. So it looks like K-Mag actually had gone back out on another set of the intermediates there. So he's had to box again, pretty much just one lap later. As Albon now might be able to get a bit of an overcut there. So it looks like Drugovic has been jumped by both Williams. But yeah, these tyres in these conditions are not going to be fun for a couple of laps. And often the AI struggle nowhere near as much as the human does, which is always fun. Yeah, I mean, if someone could explain to me how even Albon, who's just pit the same time I have, is 3 seconds a lap faster than me on the fresh rubber, then I would really love to know. I think it is definitely something that needs to get tweaked on F1 at 22. You know, it's not so bad in the dry, but if it's still changeable conditions, there is our Latifi! Latifi's gone round right behind me! I mean, if it was going to be anyone, and safety cars now been deployed in this Grand Prix, so Latifi at least has added a bit of spice to it. Could it have been anyone else other than Nicholas? I'm not sure, but like I said, at least it's made things a bit interesting. Plus then we can have a good recap of what's going on. Right, well, having a look at our current race running then. Lewis Hamilton still leads the way ahead of championship leader Charles Leclerc. George Russell then ahead of both Red Bulls there. Perez, though, ahead of Verstappen in this Grand Prix is quite interesting to see. Sainz still in 6th ahead of Bottas, Alonso, Mick Schumacher and Lance Strulovic rounding out the top 10. We're still in P16 there, just behind the Aston Martin now, Sebastian Vettel. But yeah, just Magnussen and Ricciardo that have had an absolute nightmare weekend, still stuck behind Drugovic and Alex Albon there. But I guess they're both back ahead of Nicholas Latifi. Kind of hoping this safety car stays out for a few laps though, just until the track is completely dry, as there is still a little bit of moisture around the venue, because yeah, again, the AI is still very, very strong in comparison. But yeah, a bit worried that we're probably still going to spend the remaining sort of 10 or 12 laps or so looking in the mirrors rather than trying to make moves in front. But you never know. Well, 10 laps to go then here from the Hungarian Grand Prix. Looks like the track has completely dried up and we're about to resume racing then here for the final few laps of this race. Can we try and get anything more out of this? You know, we have not had the pace of the other cars in front of me all afternoon long, and I'm, again, not really convinced we're going to be able to do any better late on in the afternoon, but even if we could just try and get ahead of a couple of them, I could walk away fairly happy with this weekend's result there as we head out through turn 1. Oh, again, you can just see still Amateur struggling to put the power down. But yeah, I mean, even if we could just try and hang on within the DRS of 7 Zhou Guanyu, I'd probably be quite happy. But yeah, like I said, not convinced it's going to happen there, as Albon already trying to apply the pressure there. Alex Albon to the outside as we head in towards turn 4. Tiny bit of wheel-to-wheel contact. Alonso and Hamilton-esque from last year. But we live to fight another day, and Drogovic again trying to be on the offensive when people make mistakes trying to get past me. I don't know what it is, but we seem to have cursed everyone around us today. As K-Mag's had issues, Ricciardo's had issues, Latifi's had issues, and maybe Albon now is going to join that collective. It's basically every car that's been behind me. I guess you can even argue Drogovic has had issues as well, to be honest. Looks like Drogovic and Albon are going to continue to dispute that position. We're just trying to hang on close to Sebastian Vettel, but not convinced still. Starting lap 30 then of this Grand Prix, and the gap to Sebastian Vettel hanging agonisingly close to that 1 second mark. We always seem to be able to get it back under at just the wrong points on the circuit, but I think now the gap opens up to about 1.3. We might just not quite have enough there. Looks like we've got the pace over Albon and Drogovic further back. Yeah, these final 6 laps might just be about consolidating P16, the position we've basically been in all afternoon since Lando Norris had his issues. I don't think we've even made an overtake sort of past lap 1 here. We technically got the overtake on Kevin Magnussen, but that was more really just he made a mistake and we reclaimed the position we just lost. But yeah, I always say the Hungaroring is a horrible, horrible circuit for me. And to be honest, you know, with a barely limited way of speaking today, yeah, if we'd had quite an action-packed Grand Prix, perhaps that would have ruined it for us, but
1.6 seconds.
Yeah, 7 now, gap opening up again. I think we've just taken a bit too much out of the tyres here at the moment. I think we're just going to have to try and bring the car home for P16. Yeah, it can be incredibly frustrating, you know, when you feel like you've got some good pace in the car, but still just watching those drivers in front just about break away, because you never know what we could have done with the DRS there. But 3 to go. Albon now floating dangerously close to the 1 second zone. Just got to make sure if he gets within range that we've got, you know, enough battery just to try and sort of keep him at arm's length, if you will. Here we go, about to start the last lap then, and Albon now starting to get a bit of aggressive here, so we might have a good little last lap battle. Certainly not for the positions I wanted, but I've been almost impressed with just how badly and quickly I've destroyed this set of medium compound tyres there, so we'll just cover the inside through the final corner. But 1 lap to go then here from the Hungaroring, and look at the run Albon's been able to get this time round. He's going to have a look to the outside, so we head back down towards turn 1. Going to try and give him the squeeze, try and make sure we meet the apex though still. So Albon tries to keep around the outside there. We just about hang on out of turn 1. So he tries to have a look back around the outside of me. There's Ricciardo, maybe rubbing his hands together, wanted to try and join this party as well. There is down through turn 2 and turn 3, just going to try and keep the Williams at arm's length. He was often getting quite a nice run actually up into turn 4 in these final few laps. But yeah, like I said, we have absolutely destroyed this set of the medium tyres. They're basically trying to do qualifying laps to stick close to Seb, so yeah, they've not felt fun in the dying stages here from this Grand Prix. But round in the final couple of corners, it looks like Hamilton going to get his 2nd win in 3 races there. Mercedes are well and truly back at this stage of the year there. Fast lap as well as he comes through for the full 26 points there. Charles Leclerc in at P2 ahead of George Russell there, and then both Red Bulls ahead of Carlos Sainz, as the engine, yeah, is definitely not enjoying this at the moment. Their ICE up to 65%, but Alex Albon trying to look around the outside through the final couple of corners there. Ricciardo might be able to try and get him as they're going to drag race up towards the line. I think Ricciardo's done him.
And that's the end of the race. We'll see you in Parc Fermé.
There'll be smiles at the factory after that one. A great race and a real team performance to take victory here in Hungary. So Natalie, what do you think helped them deliver this result?
Well, they certainly stood out as a driver with tons of confidence on the track. I think their ability to keep their cool, even during some of the more hectic parts of the race, meant they were able to capitalise on the mistakes of other drivers, giving them the opportunity to make their way to the top spot with ease.
After an excellent performance at the Grand Prix, I'm sure there'll be plenty of celebrations tonight amongst the Mercedes team, and they certainly deserve it. And after this round of the World Championship, here's how things look in the drivers' table. Charles Leclerc, currently leading the championship standings, extends his lead even further with this result. So then, Natalie Pinkham, who would you rank as your driver of the day?
It's got to be Lewis Hamilton. I mean, he pulled off some impressive feats out there on track today, even by his high standards.
It's time to check out the constructors' standings. No change in the top spot then, but with today's points, their hold on that lead is getting weaker. There was also a strong showing from the Mercedes team today, as they make their way up the standings. It's been an absolutely wild weekend of Formula One action, and I can't wait to see what's next.
Well, there we are then, guys, the end of the Hungarian Grand Prix. And if you've made it this far, thank you very, very much. Because, yeah, like I said, hopefully, you know, over the next couple of days, I'll get a bit better and we can get a bit more hyped up once more for this series. And, yeah, not the most exciting race here from the Hungaroring, but that's often how races go around this venue there. Hamilton takes home the dub, though. 26 points on the board for him. A very, very good weekend for Mercedes, ahead of Charles Leclerc and George Russell there. Perez, Verstappen, Sainz, Bottas, Alonso, Mick Schumacher and Lance Stroll there, so I don't actually think anyone inside the top 10 changed positions late on in the afternoon there. Alex Albon did hang on ahead of Daniel Ricciardo there by just 0.003 of a second at the checkered flag, so that got very, very spicy between them. And I mean, what's that? 4/10 separated myself all the way down to Kevin Magnussen there, so 4 cars separated by 4/10 at the checkered flag there, and just Lando Norris, who didn't make it to the checkered flag there. Championship-wise, though, Charles Leclerc extends the lead over his teammate there, 52 points, so he's got a 2-race win margin now ahead of Carlos Sainz, but less than a 3-race win margin ahead of Lewis Hamilton there. The gap down now to just 77 points. No movement apart from Stroll re-jumping myself there in the Drivers' Championship, though, by virtue of that point. So, yeah, Zhou Guanyu, Stroll and myself still tied now on 3 apiece. Yeah, constructors-wise, though, Mercedes re-jumped Red Bull, though, in a battle that I think could hang on right the way through to the end of the year there. But Ferrari's still 180 points clear at the top of the standings there. That's effectively, yeah, 4 perfect weekends for Mercedes, and Ferrari just scored no points, and Ferrari would still be leading the way there. But thank you all so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed still, please do make sure to leave a like and get yourself subscribed, and we will return very, very soon with more F1 22 content. None of these videos would be possible without the help of our channel members, so a massive thank you to all of the names you see on your screens currently for helping support the channel. You can join them by clicking the join button down below, and yeah, thank you once again to everyone that continues all the insane support on my work.